Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about single leg exercises and why they're really your best choice for bringing up lagging quads if you do not have access to a lot of equipment. And by a lot of equipment, I usually mean a belt squat machine, very, very specifically. That is probably one of the best supplemental lifts you can do for your lower body out there for squatting, but again, most people don't have access, and I personally found that it is very, very difficult to do it with free weights once you get to a very, very heavy weight. Which again, I got to a point where I was doing my rep work with over 300 pounds. It just becomes insanely awkward. So we need alternatives, and I have historically done some one-legged exercises. When I first did them, I don't know, gosh, two and a half years ago, started doing them on camera, it threw a lot of people off because I had agreed in the past when I was going through a more dogmatic phase. And again, we live and we learn. It's like I've told people many times, the longer I coach and am a full-time strength coach, the less and less dogmatic I become, right? Because we can't afford to be. We have to do what's best to get our clients the results that they need and our athletes. And that means sometimes we have to use different approaches and things we've thought were best in the past, right? We have to keep our options open. And so we come over to this topic of single leg exercises. And again, a lot of people would say, well, what's the real benefit here? It's the same muscles basically being worked on the squat without the back. Well, that really is the benefit, isn't it? That is the real benefit. Because what is the biggest problem we run into with a lot of the big movements that we need? That we do, squats, deadlifts, so on and so forth. The sheer amount of axial loading and the fatigue that they place on your body limits the amount of them you can do, right? And if you're doing much squatting or much deadlifting, it severely impedes your ability to do much of anything else. And we can reach a threshold to where it is just simply not possible to recover from enough squat and deadlift volume to maximize your lower body growth. I'm not saying they can't be part of the equation. I'm not saying they shouldn't be part of the equation, because they should, and particularly if we want to be strong. But at the end of the day, size equals strength potential, and your hypertrophy will determine, for you as an individual with your personal leverages and genetics, it will determine your strength ceiling. It'll determine your strength ceiling. And it is, again, problematic trying to use these movements exclusively. We just cannot get enough training volume in. We don't recover from it. And therefore, our growth potential gets limited. So what are our alternatives? To say, okay, can we work a lot of these muscles with less loading on our back? Because I don't squat and deadlift, and at least at the time I'm making this video and all my clients, I've come to the point where we don't do any heavy rep work on squats or deadlifts. And that includes my power lifters. That includes my power lifters who are winning. Okay, I've got guys with elite lifts who follow this principle. And I'm not saying that people have to follow this principle. I'm not saying people haven't broken records who do the opposite. I'm saying from a fatigue management and a longevity philosophy and the ability to need less deloads and to not be beat up all the time to still get the same results, they're not our best choices for hypertrophy. So we come over to this and it's like, well, what are we working? What are the primary movers on all of these single leg movements? Whether it's the two I'm doing here or even others, right? In this case, I'm doing Romanian split squats. Sorry, Bulgarian split squats. I'm getting tongue-tied today. And I'm doing step-ups onto a bench, which again start below parallel for me. Well, what do you think is being worked? Quads, glutes, adductors. These are the same muscles, the very same muscles that we use on the squat. Okay? And occasionally the quads will become the weak link on a squat. I tell people that usually the quads are not the weak link on a squat. But if they are, this is probably some of your best possible options because it doesn't load the spine up heavy. And here's the thing. If you need to load your spine up heavy because your back is the weak link, well, there's other options besides your squatting. This is where things like good mornings come into place. And I'll be the first one to tell someone, what's your max good morning? Or even your 10 rep max on a good morning versus how much do you squat? How close are they together? Okay. Well, if your squat is dramatically stronger than your good morning, then a lot of your back very well might be your limiting factor. Right? It very probably is a limiting factor on your squat. Like your upper back, your thoracic spine, mid and lower traps. Right? These are probably weak links for you. Or you could assess what's your safety bar squat relative to your back squat. That'll tell you a lot too. Tell you a whole lot. If they're relatively close together, well, your upper back's not a weak link. If your safety bar squat is, I don't know, 100 pounds less than your back squat, well, your upper back's a weak link. It's not your quads. And a lot of times we can talk about hip extension too. Or hip extension's the weak link. Because we know that glutes and adductors grow slightly more from full squats than quads do. This is what the hypertrophy research is finding. Quads still get a lot of growth from it. They're still primary movers. So, we have to address these other muscles. But if the quads are a weak link, these movements work great. Because they work the adductors and the glutes at different ratios, but they still work them. And some of these movements work them more effectively than others. But they hammer the quads no matter what. And it's very easy to recover from the volume of these. If you do 3 sets of 10 on a back squat, even close to failure, you are just beat up. These movements, not really a big deal. You get a really intense quad pump, but you're not beat up afterwards. Like the recovery curve is a lot better. And you know what? You got just as much quad activation. Your quads will grow just as fast from 3 sets of 10 of one of these movements as it will from squats, but without all the fatigue. Well, in the case of these, I think these were done quite some time back on the same day. I did 3 sets of 10 on these two in the same workout, and for a while I was doing that. Who knows what I'll be doing by the time this video comes out way down the road. But I had no trouble recovering from that. Try doing 6 sets of squats every lower body day. You're not. But I'm getting the same amount of quad growth. And that's the point. And we can build our back up for the squat with other movements. I mean, again, good mornings. Potentially Romanian deadlifts. Just doing other back work. Just building your lats and traps. All of those things will give you the back strength that you need for the squat. So we're not necessarily missing out as long as we're following a well-rounded number of accessory lifts for hypertrophy. But at the end of the day, you have to get bigger and thicker to get stronger. You have to. Doesn't matter that there's some guy out there who's small and really strong. That's not you. And for the overwhelming majority of people, they're going to have to follow that rule. And so if you want your squat to go up, you're going to have to find a way to make your quads, your adductors, and your glutes, those are the primary movers. Those are the muscles that move the squat. You're going to have to get them a lot bigger. And these are very, very good tools to do so. And particularly if things like the quads are a weak link in your squat. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.